Hello everyone, my name's Tyler. Welcome to my review of Journey. Video games themselves are a mix of video, art, and sound multimedia. Video games convey themselves to the player in stimulation, much like movies. However, unlike any other media, video games require interaction of the recipient. Without the player, the video game has nowhere to go. As such, video games are first and foremost games, meaning that their main focus is on challenges, goals, systems, and mechanisms to engage the player and keep them engaged. Gameplay is undoubtedly the most important element within game design. You're not going to play a game that is simply not fun. This means that devs are going to put as much effort as they can into making the gameplay fun, and oftentimes, and understandably so, will put the story, the art, or other elements of the game on the back burner. Now, I will say that gaming has progressed in such a way that there are some games out there that tell a great story, some completely capitalizing on the video game media in such a way that they tell a great story in a way that no other media can. There are still some that while they tell a great story, there is a disconnect between the story and the gameplay. You will play the game for a bit, and then you will jump to the cutscene, and then back to gameplay. Jumping back and forth this way isn't a direct indication that there is a disconnect between story and gameplay, but think of a game that tells a great story. Now take all the gameplay elements out of it and only keep the narrative, storytelling, cutscene parts. You may still have something great, but did you lose out on anything story-wise by removing the gameplay? Probably not. You may have a great story and you may have great gameplay, but they are two separate objects most of the time, with no seamless integration between the two. There is the game, and the story around the game, telling you why you need to go here and do this. Journey looks to break away from this disconnect. In Journey, you play as a mysterious robed figure in a vast desert traveling towards a mountain in the distance. Along the way, you will search ruins, which reveal more of the story of what happened to this ancient civilization. You will pick up cloth pieces that allow you to grow your scarf so you can reach new areas of the map. The game's setting isn't so much to focus on what happened, but to give you a framework to the type of emotions it's trying to convey to the player. Journey isn't about reaching an end, it's quite literally about the journey, what you do along the way. Journey represents life, from beginning to end, from birth to death, and it does so without using any characters or dialogue. It simply uses game design. The first scene plants you in a vast desert. This, I believe, represents birth. The world around you seems so big. In this scene, you are restricted. There's not much for you to do or that you will encounter. You are learning the controls of the game much like you would learn the basics of life, like walking and talking. In the second scene, there's a lot more things to explore and discover. The design of this area is much more playful in nature than the first scene. When you're ready to move on, a bridge appears that gives you clear direction as to where you're supposed to go. I believe this represents your adolescent years. The third scene opens up to a desert so big that you almost don't know where to go. The atmosphere is calm, but there is an uncertain feeling you get from off in the distance. It's intimidating as you have to figure out more things out on your own. I believe this represents young adulthood. The next scene is where it gets really exciting. You begin sliding down a huge hill with rolling sand. It's gorgeous and blissful. You're having such a great time that you almost forget everything around you. It evokes such a carefree expression, but that feeling quickly changes into something dark as you reveal what lies ahead and leave what's left behind. Childhood is gone and responsibilities and obligations are in full force. I believe this represents your 20s, 30s, and even 40s. The next scene is dark and threatening. You now encounter enemies that will attack you, reduce your scarf, which will reduce your abilities. There's also more upward movement. These two things working together make it harder along your journey. I believe this represents aging and the passing of time. Opening up the next scene, you begin ascending until you reach the base of the mountain. Your trek is met with more enemies, bitter cold, and fierce winds. The closer you get to the mountain, the slower you are, and the harder it is for you to keep going. I believe this represents your final years. You eventually make your way far enough and long enough that you fall to the ground, unable to keep going. You are met by 6 robed figures who revive you. With a new energy and spirit, you fly to the peak of the mountain. I believe this represents death and heaven. Finally, you begin flying. Your scarf is longer than you could have ever imagined. You continuously move upwards. Everything is perfect. You move with an elegant haste. Everything around you has life. It's beautiful and unlike any experience you've had in the game. You experience all the ups and downs and emotions that life gives you in this short game. The most impressive part about the fact is Journey does this without a single bit of dialogue. It accomplishes this through using only its stunning visuals and amazing music. Another amazing feat of Journey is the multiplayer. You can encounter up to 4 players at a time in Journey, though I only met 1 at a time. Some playthroughs you may play solo, some you may play with multiple throughout the whole game, and others maybe only for a short time. There is no way to communicate with this player through game chat or through any system within the game, but yet again, without any dialogue or form of communication, you begin to develop a bond between the other player. The only way to interact with that player is to press a button to make your character chime. The simplicity of this design adds to the elegance and focus Journey is giving to the player. There's no way to harass the other player and no reasons for you to dislike the other player. You are both stuck in this vast desert of life trying to figure everything out. As such, when you encounter a secret or find something, you want to be sure to share it with your new friend. The game also has this brilliant mechanic where you feed off of each other's ability. When you jump really high, you use up pieces of your scarf, but you have a chime ability that replenishes the other player's scarf. Alternating these abilities with your friend, you are able to feed off of each other, support each other, help each other to reach new heights and new areas. As the game progresses and you discover new things together, you find yourself excited not only for yourself, but also for your friend. When it turns dark, you're not only concerned for yourself, but for your friend. You begin to care about a total stranger without a single word being said. No other game has a multiplayer aspect that can accomplish this. Deliberate game design in Journey creates an experience that only video game media can deliver. To some, it may seem too simple or even boring, but its setting, atmosphere, music, and gameplay make you feel all the emotions of life's journey in a simple and eloquent way in just under a few hours. From the limited HUD, the perfectly executed and unique multiplayer, stunning visuals, and absolutely amazing music score, there was nothing I did not like about Journey. I highly recommend you play this game, or at least watch my playthrough of the game. This game accomplishes something that only a video game can, and I believe is a staple for game design. Thank you for watching. For more games and game reviews like this, subscribe. This has been Toast, and I'll see you on the next video.